Cool. We are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Fireside Chat hosted by the 403 Circle and Astra Security. Well, while we wait for a few more people to join and before we kick things off, I would love to know where you guys are joining from. Tell us who you are in the chat. Where are you joining from? What you do? And on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you to attend this session? I'm just checking if the chat is on for everyone. Yeah, it is. Hey, hello, Mike. Mike is joining from US. Hey, Janak. Hey, Dev. Dev is from Bangalore. It's Devinder. He's one of the members of our community. So hi, Devinder. Nice to meet you. Thanks for joining. All right. All right. So before we begin our conversation with the speaker today, I would like to give you a quick rundown of what we are going to discuss in today's session and a little bit about the community that we are building, which is called the 403 Circle and Astra Security, and what we do at Astra. So let me share my screen real quick. Friday. Da, da, da. Yeah, Shira, can you give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen?
A little small where I am, but I could see it. It's up.
Oh, perfect. All right. Thanks everyone for joining in. So let me give you all a quick overview of what are we going to be talking about in this session today. I am Priya. I'm the community manager at Astra, and I will be your host for today's session. So first, we will be talking about the very important thing in this cloud security, which a lot of us seem to be missing, which are the key components of the cloud security. So we will have Shira diving deeper into the fundamentals. Then we will be touching upon the biggest challenges organizations are facing in the cloud right now. Then a little bit about the cybersecurity strategies for the cloud. And then we will also discuss how critical is the role of the end user and the human factor in the cloud security today. Then some of the things that CISOs should consider while budget planning in 2026. Before I introduce you all to the speaker, let me give you a quick walkthrough of the 403 Circle and Astra Security. So the 403 Circle is a community that we have been building. We have over 300 CTOs, CISOs, and cybersecurity and tech leaders from organizations like Microsoft, Xerox, Razorpay, and more. And apart from having just so we don't only have our community online, but we do run in-person community initiatives as well. So we do monthly city meetups, expert-led sessions online, and we do create playbooks in collaboration with our community members and cybersecurity leaders. If you wish to join the community, I will request my colleague Pratisha to leave the link to join the community in the chat. A little bit about Astra. So at Astra, we are building a continuous pen test platform that helps over 700 companies continuously scan their infrastructure. So it's a PTAS platform which allows you to run automated pen testing on your web applications, APIs, and cloud infrastructures. Now, I would like to introduce you all to our speaker for today's session, Shira Rubinoff, who is the CEO of the Cybersphere Group, a globally recognized cybersecurity executive. And Shira is someone whom I stumbled upon when I first got into cybersecurity. She was the one who showed up on the internet because she's quite famous everywhere, I'm telling you. So yeah, really excited about this conversation today with her. A little bit of housekeeping. So this is going to be a host curated Q&A with Shira, and the session will be recorded and the recording will be made available post the event over an email. So you have to wait for a few hours till you get access to the session recording. So I am going to stop sharing my screen now and begin the session. Alrighty, just give me a second. Thank you, Shira. Thanks a lot for agreeing to do this session with us. Really looking forward to the conversation today.
Certainly, my pleasure.
Thank you. So, Shira, like I mentioned that we will be touching upon the fundamentals of cloud security, right? And how cloud security can mean very different things to different teams, right? And it often gets reduced to tools rather than just fundamentals. So before we dive into challenges and solutions, it would be great to level set a bit. So what is cloud security and its key components, and what are the building blocks of cloud security that CISOs today need to know?
Well, I love that you brought it back to the basics to start from the beginning to really build it up from the ground up, as I hope there's folks out there who really want to learn and understand the fundamentals of it to bring it up to where we are today. So basically, cloud security is a comprehensive framework of technologies, policies, and controls designed to protect cloud-based data, applications, and infrastructure from internal and external threats, both internal and external. So let's break it down. So cloud security is the production of cloud data, the apps, and infrastructure using policies, tech, and controls, which really focus on confidentiality, integrity, and the availability, which is typically called the CIA triad in cloud security. So what is confidentiality? Pretty much what it means. It's keeping the data private from unauthorized users. Integrity, again, what it means as well, ensuring the data hasn't been tampered with and is accurate. And availability really guarantees reliable access to cloud services and data. And I can't stress that enough. You need the reliability to access it and certainly to access your data. So CIOs really must navigate a cloud landscape that is defined and shared responsibility, which is continuous. And there's automation and cyber resilience. And the core building blocks of cloud security are structured into several frameworks. So we break them down into 5 pillars that is known in the cloud industry. First being identity access management, which is the primary security perimeter in the cloud. So when we talk about the cloud, we talk about perimeter security and security within the cloud. But this is the perimeter in the cloud. It involves strictly controlling and managing user and machine access, often through phishing resistant multi-factor authentication and the principle of least privilege. Then we have data protection, which is ensuring that data remains unreadable to unauthorized parties through encryption at rest and in transit. So in the past, we talked about really where data is at rest, but as we know, as we moved along in our technology advancements in the world, there's tremendous transit of data. So we need to manage that as well, alongside effective key management. Then we talk about network security, which utilizes virtual private clouds and micro-segmentation to prevent lateral movement and cloud-native firewalls to isolate critical workloads. We talk about also compliance and governance, which is adhering to standards like SOC 2, HIPAA, or GDPR through automated checks and continuous monitoring to prevent configurational drift. So, when we talk about monitoring, there used to be more sporadic checks of when you check it, how you check it, but you need to have continuous monitoring to prevent this. If not, you're going to have real problems. Then you have incident response and recovery, which is establishing a practice plan to detect, respond to, and recover from breaches rapidly, emphasizing cyber resilience over absolute prevention. So think about what you would need to be proactive and reactive in your cybersecurity posture, certainly when it comes to everything security around the cloud.
Wow. So it's a combination of architecture, identity, and a lot of processes, right? Not just
Of
tools.
course.
Yeah.
Correct.
So,
And we'll
yeah.
get into the whole human aspect of the implementation, not just technology, but how we work side by side for an advancement of securing the cloud as well.
Yeah. And it raises the question of where things are actually breaking down in the practice, right? So most organizations today operate in multi-cloud or highly complex cloud setups, and security teams are constantly playing catch up, right? What are the biggest cloud security challenges uh, organizations are facing right now?
That's a great question. As we know, generally in the security world, clients, customers, organizations have been moving to the cloud for better security. And in 2025, organizations faced a rapidly shifting cloud security landscape. And that's characterized by increased complexity and highly automated threats. And the primary cloud security challenges right now include many things. So I want to break that down as well. So we have the misconfiguration and human error. And it's not shocking, I'm sure, to everybody out there that this remains the leading cause of cloud breaches. And that's often stemming from rapid deployment and complex multi-provider settings. And to throw in a number here, Gartner predicts that by late 2025, which is now, 99% of cloud security failures will be the customer's fault. And that's primarily due to misconfigured storage and access policies. So if we want to break that down, going back to human error and what happens when things are instituted in organizations, think about the makeup of an organization. People are multitasking, they have to move quicker, faster, want to be stronger, but they always, in general, the human mind, what you need to do if you have tremendous pressure and you have to multitask, how do we get there faster? What can I go around? Do I really look at every little piece that needs to be configured, or am I just doing it rapidly to get the job done? And unfortunately, there's a lot of problems when it comes to human error with configuring things. If you're not doing it right and picking it up to snuff, you're going to have those issues. Another problem is insecure APIs. So poorly secured APIs are the prime targets for automated attacks. And recent data indicates over 90% of cloud incidents this year in 2025 involve some form of insecure API. Again, when we talk about security in general with organizations, what are we securing? How are we securing it? What are we forgetting? What do we need to think about? Another thing is identity access management. And the complexity, the organizations struggle to manage both human and non-human machine identities. And another number here for you, approximately 83% of cloud breaches now have access-related component, such as overprivileged accounts or lack of multi-factor authentication. And if you think about that, is multi-factor authentication has been around for a long time. And a lot of folks just don't use it in the right aspects when they need to gain access. And access is given pretty much when needed, as needed, and they'll say business as usual, get it done. So they're trying to find loopholes, and we need to button down on that. And we need to be careful about which accounts have the access and who has access. And think about it again, even when we'll get into the zero trust in a little bit. But think about, let's say, an employee within an organization has high access, and let's say they were fired. And let's say that it wasn't updated in all the systems, and that profile exists, and they have a privileged account. So now you have a bad actor coming in. It could be a malicious insider threat, let's call it. They gain access to this account, and now they could run across the organization and do what they need to do in order to gain access. And that's a problem. Then we also have AI-driven and sophisticated attacks. And that really deals with the cyber criminals who are increasingly using AI to automate vulnerability, which scans and creates highly convincing phishing and deepfake campaigns. So I want to talk about that for a moment. In the past or in life, we say as people, as humans, I'll believe it when I see it. I need to hear it with my own 2 ears. I needed to verify trust. How do we verify trust? How, in general, in our lives, do we verify trust? When we're able to see something that we believe, see somebody we trust, hear from somebody we trust, and all those things which we rely on our senses has been something that has been our entire lives. And here we are in a world where that can't be trusted anymore. So now the criminals are using phishing and deepfake campaigns to play on not just human emotions, but the human way that we go about life in order to gain trust and gain access. And AI also introduces new internal risks like data poisoning and model theft. We move on to shadow IT and visibility. And some of the gaps are employees often adopt unsanctioned cloud tools without IT oversight. And that creates a massive blind spot within organization, blind spots actually. And a typical company uses over 1,000 cloud applications. And you know what? IT is aware of less than 10% of them. So why does this happen? Within organizations, if policies aren't instituted appropriately, the people within the organization, they use the tools that help them along with their jobs. Again, we're going along the path maybe of the human that we need to get our job done. What tools are available for me? I instituted them to get my job done, not thinking about the risks that could happen. And then within the IT organizations, they're not aware of everything. If they're not aware of what everybody's using, you could have massive breaches within the organizations. Then there's also supply chain and third party risk. Organizations are increasingly vulnerable to breaches occurring at their cloud service providers or software vendors, which can have cascading downstream effects on millions and millions of customers. And this happens for obvious reasons. Every entree point can be a breachable point, and we need to think about that when we move along our cybersecurity way that we institute cloud as well, and making sure that everything is regulated and up to date. And regulatory and data sovereignty, which actually moves into this, which I was talking about for a moment, and navigating a patchwork of global data privacy laws. And we have quite a few of them, like GDPR and HIPAA and newer state level acts, while managing multi-cloud data residency that remains an operational burden. So to address these, many organizations are now moving towards a zero trust architecture and unified cloud native application protection platforms to centralize security across fragmented environments. So when we talk about zero trust, I just want to give a little bit of an overview of zero trust. I'll give an example. Think about maybe in the vast olden days when you had a castle. How did somebody get in? They knock, identify themselves. Let's say the drawbridge lowers. They come into the environment and they have free reign across the environment. What is zero trust? How do we institute that in that analogy? So gain access to the castle, knock, identify oneself. Here we are in the castle, but there's no free reign. We have to identify ourselves to each level where we want to gain access. That's the idea of zero trust. Understanding, identifying, gain access where allowed, only where you're allowed, and not having free reign across the entire environment.
Wow, that was such an insightful answer, Shira. And it is interesting that many of these challenges are not new, right? And they seem to persist despite better tooling and awareness. We've been talking about this problem for years, yet breaches continue to happen. And you spoke of misconfiguration being like one of the major issues, right? So and it has been a talk of the town for a really long time. So is cloud misconfiguration still the number one issue right now?
I'll give you a simple answer on this one. Yes.
Amazing.
How was that? You're waiting for a long, wordy answer. But truly, it boils down to yes or no. It is.
Yeah.
And that really points to the things we just spoke about. Why is
Yeah.
that? Human nature, the way people operate, human error, organization not having policies in check, not having the security up to snuff. All the things that we talked about really points to that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if it continues to dominate, that suggests the problem may be more about processes and ownership than just technology, right? So now I would I want to refer to one of your books that I have read. Uh, it is about, I'm forgetting the name, I'm so sorry, but
Cyber minds.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I did see that you have talked a lot about cloud security over there, right? And there is a specific segment where you write about the developing cybersecurity strategies for the cloud. Uh, could you share some of those with our audience today?
Certainly. And I'm going to bring it forward to today. I wrote the book a number of years ago, and certainly as technology advances, our focus has to advance as well. And, obviously there are similar things, but there's more advanced things that we have to look at as we progress here in our ever-changing world. So here in this last year, in 2025, cloud cybersecurity strategies have shifted from traditional perimeter defense, so perimeter of the cloud, to adaptive identity-centric models that leverage automation, so think AI, to manage increasingly complex multi-cloud and AI-driven environments. So developing strategies include, so let's talk about a number of them. Zero trust architecture, so moving beyond best practice to default requirements. So zero trust assumes no inherent trust for any user or device. It utilizes microsegmentation to isolate workloads and continuous verification of identity and device health for every access request. And I want to focus here on continuous verification. As we've moved along our atmosphere of the way that technology has advanced, you need that continuous verification. It can't be sporadic. You need to continuously verify the identity and device health for every access request as we're moving that quickly. Then we have AI and machine learning integration. Organizations are deploying AI for real-time threat detection, behavioral baselines to identify anomalies, and automated remediation to reduce incident response times from hours to seconds. So think about it. When we have the advancement in utilizing AI correctly, we're able to move better, quicker, faster in a way that protects us, but we also have to think about the bad actors that are coming at us with the same speed. So we need to be ready both proactive and reactively. Then we have cloud native application protection platforms, and that's referred to as CNAP. And these unified platforms consolidate previously siloed tools, including CSPM posture management, CWP workload, which is workload protection, and CIEM entitlement management to provide a single pane of glass view across complex environments. So think how far we've come. There's a lot of organizations, and I can make an analogy almost to a lot of organizations within the organizations. They have many different departments, many different areas where companies are focused. And it's almost like siloed environments working side by side instead of working cohesively together. And gaining insight to that, you could think of the headache that somebody could have to really get a full understanding. So now, similarly, instead of having a siloed view of each environment separately, we're able to have a single pane of that glass view across all these complex environments. And think about what that does for an organization. We also talk about secure access service edge. And this strategy integrates software-defined networking with security functions like secure web gateways and zero trust network access, which delivers a unified security model for remote and hybrid workforces. And of course, today, we're not all in office. A lot of organizations are fully remote, and some have come back to hybrid and some are there. So how do we make it unified? And that was something certainly during COVID that every organization struggled with. And now we have pulled it together in order to do this correctly. And that moves on to cybersecurity mesh architecture, which is a modular approach that allows for decentralized security, enforcement closer to individual assets while maintaining a centralized governance. And that's super, super important when we talk about the four pillars of security, which is the people, process, technology, and governance as the fourth. And that is something super critical. And then finally, the quantum resistant encryption, anticipating future quantum computing threats. And that goes to the proactive cybersecurity strategies now incorporate post quantum cryptography standards to protect sensitive long-term data. So think about that. In the past, certainly with cybersecurity, there was a lot of focus on reactive security, reactive measurements. But as we're again progressing in this ever-changing world, the speed of which technology is advancing and quantum coming through the pipes, we have to be ready. we certainly have to be ready and anticipate, have our technology and our security up to snuff to be ready to be reactive as well as super proactive as we talk about where we really our big focus is. And we also talk about AI security posture management, which specialized tools specifically designed to monitor and secure AI development pipelines, which protects models against prompt injections, data poisoning, and model inversion. And when we talk about the advancement of AI, we certainly have many concerns, and this certainly talks about that as well.
Wow, that was an amazing glimpse of your book, and you've shared some really amazing tools uh, as well. So great. Yeah, that's the answer I was looking for. So thank you so much for that. Uh,
Certainly.
and like as we enter 2026, we've talked a lot about a lot of different strategies, right? What are some traditional cloud security practices that are becoming obsolete?
Well, that's a great question. And I love these questions because, as we advance, it's important to understand what worked yesterday is not going to work today, and it's certainly not going to work tomorrow. So I'm going to talk about a few that have become obsolete, and I'll talk about also not just what's obsolete, but what are we doing today to replace that? So firstly, we talk about perimeter-based security, which was reliance on static firewalls and VPNs to create a secure internal network. And this is no longer effective in 2026 hybrid and multi-cloud landscape. So what is a replacement that organizations are utilizing? They utilize zero trust architecture, as we spoke about earlier, which treats every user, device, and request as untrusted, regardless of location, and employs micro-segmentation to isolate potential breaches. So again, each one is looked at separately, isolated, and allowed if the zero trust is in place. And another one is manual configuration and monitoring. And that was human-led cloud management. And you cannot keep up with the complexity of multi-cloud environments where manual errors now account for the majority of the breaches, as we spoke about. Again, human error. It's the weakest link in the chain. And we'll talk about how to make the human part of your solution and not just the problem. So what is the replacement? Automated security posture management. And that's tools that use AI to instantly detect and auto remediate misconfigurations before they can be exploited by bots. And that's super important. When we talk about the different areas where AI is used, the one thing I also talk about is having cybersecurity alongside AI, and then also having a human to check that things can be and verified that in a way that they can be trusted. Another one is periodic static assessments, annual audits. And I was never a big fan of these, the annual once a year, however you need to do it. And the threats in 2026, particularly those driven by agentic AI, they're evolving too quickly for annual or even quarterly assessments to remain valid. I was always a big proponent on doing continuous, and that is something that has been changed. And now the replacement is continuous security monitoring and automated compliance. And that provides real-time visibility and artifact-based proof of security at any given moment. And you can imagine how important that is for an organization. You can't have static, let's check here today, let's make sure it's good. It needs to be continuous. It needs to be ongoing. Another one is signature-based malware detection. So in the post-malware era, sophisticated 2026 attacks nowadays and coming up this year use AI-driven polymorphism to mutate code every few seconds. Think about that, every few seconds, making static signatures useless. And that is something we used to rely on. So what is a replacement? That would be behavioral analysis and predictive AI that monitor for anomalies in user behavior, data movement, and system calls to identify malicious intent, regardless of the code used. So think about malicious insider threats. Think about even negligent insider threats. How do we monitor for that? If we're able to monitor for that, we could have predictive tools that can point to what we need to look at. Another one is siloed security tools, fragmented tools for different environments, on-prem versus cloud. And that creates visibility gaps and alert fatigue that attackers exploit to move laterally across environments. So what is a replacement there? Unified observability and cybersecurity mesh architecture, which integrate and disparate tools into a single cohesive security fabric. And that is critical for organizations. You need to have that cohesive security fabric, not fragmented into pieces where you have to go and do it in the way that we have in the past. It will not work going into the future, and certainly not today. Another one is traditional hub and spoke networking. Kind of, I think of one of those bicycles where you have, lots of spokes sticking out. How does that work? Routing all traffic through a central data center for inspection, which introduces too much latency for 2026 distributed and edge computing workloads. So we know what's coming up. We know what's needed. The past does not work. What is a replacement? So a security access service edge, which what does it do? That would deliver security and networking as a single cloud-delivered security service directly to the user. So they are able to utilize it in a way that makes sense for them and understand that.
Wow. There's like some of the strategies that you have mentioned. Uh, when you look at large teams and large teams with deep pockets, they might adapt to these strategies because they have a budget. Sometimes they have unlimited budget, right? What would be your advice, your practical advice for smaller teams that may have a tight budget?
Great question. And I actually want to take this question a little bit further. Just to go back a little bit, when we talk about budgets and organizations, certainly the CISOs are left with these budgets that are never big enough to buy what's needed, to implement the security they feel is needed. What are the basics that everyone can do? So let's talk about what everyone can do, whether it's large, small, you have a budget, you don't have a budget. What can you do to secure? So you can implement modern security in smaller teams. It does not require enterprise level budgets. And you can achieve high security by maximizing native cloud features and open source tools. So let's go with that. Let's break that down to a few different examples. So you can maximize free native security, and most major cloud providers like AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, and productivity suites like Google Workspace, and Microsoft 365, they include foundational security features in their base tiers. So we all have that. We can utilize that. You can also enforce phishing-resistant multi-factor authentication. Activate built-in multi-factor authentication immediately. And this should be set across any environment, anywhere where there's access. It's a very simple thing to do, and it's important for everybody to utilize. And in 2026, prioritize hardware keys, for example, like a YubiKey or passkeys over SMS, as they are significantly harder to bypass with all this AI-driven phishing. And again, the phishing is very different moving into the future. So we need to look at that and do what we need to do to be secure. Then audit logging. Turn on all basic activity logs. For example, AWS CloudTrail. While advancing analysis tools, they cost no money. Having the raw data is critical for any future incident response. Think about there's a breach, incident response commander comes in, needs to assess what's going on. You need this data to start the starting point. You need to understand what you have. Configure conditional access. Use free or low cost conditional access rules to block logins from outside your operating countries or from unrecognized devices. Very simple to do. Then adopt a phased protect surface approach. Instead of trying to secure everything all at once, focus your limited resources on your protect surface. And that's the data and systems that would end your business if compromised. And we talk a lot about many different security breaches. Where is it? How do you do it? We need to focus on everything. But if you have limited resources, limited budgets, focus on those aspects. Then you could leverage high impact open source tools. So going into 2026, open source ecosystem, it provides powerful alternatives to expensive security suites. And zero cost hygiene and culture, I talk about this a lot. Cyber hygiene within your organization, the most cost effective security measures are behavioral. Again, people say the weakest link in the chain is the human principle as least privilege. Regularly review permissions and remove admin rights from anyone who doesn't absolutely need them, almost like a zero trust, as we spoke about. Automated patching, updated security and patching, enable auto update for all software. Unpatched systems remain a top entry point for attackers in 2026. And this goes back to budgets, what we talk about. let me dial back for another moment. We talk about digital transformation across organizations, where maybe you have a COO, where saying business as usual, operational, move, 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 get things done. And then you have the CISO, the CSO, and they're saying, wait a second, we got to pause. We have to do some updated security and patching. But that would slow down operations. So with this one, it's very simple. What do? You incentivize the COO, the CISO, the security folks to work side by side with incentives that make them look at both areas as important, and they have to work together. So if we have unpatched systems and that remains a top entry point for attackers in 2026, you're able to mitigate risk if you institute the proper digital transformation across organizations to make sure that your systems are updated and patched and you're not slowed down by operations. Employee awareness. So employee awareness and cyber culture within your organization, you could use free resources. There's plenty of those. Examples are from the CISO or the SANS to train your team on spotting 2026 era AI phishing attempts. And no phishing attempts are the same. And we could think about the cross-generational type phishing attempts, how they're targeted, whale phishing, spear phishing, all sorts of the different attacks that come and what's coming. So really understanding what our environment is today, what it is tomorrow, how to train your employees to be to recognize these attacks. And the most important that I always say is continuous. You have to have this training be continuous, keep them on alert, keep them on high alert, and make sure your employees recognize it, empower them with the proper tools, but also be there to listen to 360 feedback here. Let them be the first line of defense within your organization. If they see something, say something, and that will help organizations across the board.
Perfect. So basically focus on prioritization and impact, over scaling things, overscale basically brings us nicely to a lighter but insightful quick round. So I would like to switch gears for a moment here and do a quick rapid fire round here, if that is okay with you, Shira.
Okay, sure. Go ahead.
All right, so I'm going to be asking you a bunch of questions. And so this is something we've been doing for almost all our webinars, and this has now become a ritual. So we don't miss that. So I'm going to be asking you a bunch of questions, and you have to either answer in one word, and some questions might have two options, so you will have to pick one. So I'll start by question number one. If you weren't doing cybersecurity today, what career would you be pursuing instead?
Great question. Honestly, I can't imagine not doing cybersecurity, but before cybersecurity, I was trained as a psychologist. So that's why my expertise, again, is the human factors, cybersecurity, AI, cloud, people, technology intersect. So maybe going back to the psychology world of human understanding, because that manifests itself across everything, I believe.
Perfect. And you've been in the industry for quite some time, right? So, and it shows that you love it a lot, right? So, fantastic work you've been doing. Second question, most overrated security buzzword of 2025.
I think hands down that would be AI security. I think if you talk to any organization, everyone says, yes, we've implemented AI, we're putting in AI security. But really by implementing AI, it doesn't fix security. And many implementations introduce more vulnerabilities, if not deeply aligned with securing coding practices. So I would say, I guess, not so short form, AI security.
Yeah, AI is everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has taken over.
Yep.
So, yeah. One cloud tool you would take to a deserted island.
Okay, I'm going to be very literal here. I would take a personal locator beacon. If I'm stuck on a deserted island, I guess you want to be found, right? If someone doesn't want to be found, they'll leave that at home.
Got it. Uh, what is the most overused word by marketing teams of cybersecurity companies?
Well, certainly in the last little while, many overused words, and I think we can all just pull out a lot of those. But this one stands out as being the most overused, I believe, is zero trust. And a number of industry surveys, certainly in 2025, zero trust consistently ranks as the top buzzword due to the ubiquity as a marketing label for almost every security product. Basically, people are having this false sense of trust if they throw around that word.
Yeah, absolutely. Uh, Last question, but a very important one. Manual pen test, you have to pick one, manual pen test or continuous cloud scanning.
Okay, well, you asked me to pick one. However, I don't think it's that straightforward. And given the choice between manual pen testing and continuous cloud scanning depends on whether you need in-depth or frequency. So for high-stakes security, modern best practices recommend a hybrid approach, often called continuous pen testing or pen testing as a service.
Perfect. I agree to that. Uh, we've talked a bit, I mean, one of your answers were AI security, and I'm exactly gonna go in that direction. Uh, so I'm going to be talking about AI changing the threat landscape, right? AI has dramatically lowered the barrier for attackers and increased both speed and sophistication, which puts a lot of pressure on cybersecurity leadership to rethink prevention at scale. Given that AI empowers attackers to be far more creative now, have you seen any cybersecurity leaders adapt or develop new strategies for implementing organization-wide prevention measures?
That's a great question. And yes, cybersecurity leaders are shifting and have shifted from traditional perimeter-based defense to proactive machine speed strategies because we have to counter AI-empowered attackers. And again, as we mentioned in the cybersecurity world, obviously we're both proactive and reactive with a massive emphasis now on being super proactive. And leaders are adapting by moving away from reactive stances towards human AI partnership. And that's something I touched on a little earlier. And that leverages automation for scale and human experts for high context decision making. So think about it like this. You know, folks are talking about, and a lot of organizations are utilizing AI in a way that is not safe in the organizations because they're, let's say, getting rid of a bunch of their workforce, putting in AI tools or AI configurations in order to automate, but also to replace humans in some areas. And we have to think about what are the pitfalls also in AI. We deal with hallucinations. We deal with all sorts of problems still within AI. So when I talk about there should be AI alongside a human, obviously the AI can do quite a bit to help organizations move better, faster, stronger, as discussed. But in terms of maybe high context decision making, and also to make sure that the spit out of the AI is something invalid, you need human context to review and to validate.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what's striking here, that technology alone is not enough. And it matters how people interact with system, and it still plays a huge role.
Sure.
So uh, shifting gears to the human element now, uh, how critical is the role of end users in cloud security today? Is human error still the weakest link? I think you've mentioned that before in one of your answers, uh, or has something else taken its place?
Again, good question. But again, we're going to bring it back to basics. And really, this past year in 2025, the role of end users in cloud security is more critical than ever before. So while technological defenses have advanced, human error remains the weakest link, with current research indicating it is a primary factor, and get this number, in up to 95% of all data breaches. And I talk about this topic quite regularly. The goal to mitigate this is to align the humans in the organization as part of the cybersecurity solution instead of them being the weakest link. Again, we're looking at the human and we're saying, okay, there's all these issues that could happen within the organization if they should do ABC, then we're going to have XYZ. So what does an organization do? Not only do you need to empower the human within your organization to have the right tools, the right support, You want to have, again, 360 feedback that if they see something, say something, then they're not looked at as not a team player or they don't want to go along with the masses. You need to make the cybersecurity culture within your organization prime. They need to be thinking security. They need to feel that they're supported within the organization. So when they are doing their work, when they're doing things, they feel the allegiance towards the company and they're feeling that they need to operate in a way that's structured across the organization.
Yeah. Thank you for answering that. And I'm so sorry. Uh, Now I want to look ahead to 2026, and as we wrap up and look forward, many CISOs are already under pressure to justify spend while still improving security outcomes. Uh, with budgets tightening and expectations rising, uh, when advising CISOs on planning their 2026 cybersecurity budget, what are some things that they should consider?
Again, a great question. And I was lucky enough to have a CISO advisory board attached to my organization. A shout out to all of them, some of the leaders within the organizations. And I encourage all of you to follow them. They are top of the line CISOs who really understand what's coming, what didn't work in the past, and what needs to happen in the future. So the key really is to shift from reactive siloed spending, and we talked a little bit about the siloed approach and the reactivity to be proactive, to a strategic data-driven approach. And what we need to focus on is risk quantification, platform consolidation, and automation. And then when we have with global security spending, and again, I'll throw out this number at you, projected to reach 240 billion to 262 billion in 2026, and that's a 12.5% year over year increase. The focus is shifting from tool acquisition to platform consolidation and measurable ROI.
Wow. Yeah, if there's one common thread across everything we discussed today, it's that cloud security success in 2026 will be less about uh, uh, the tools and platforms and more about clarity, ownership, and execution. If you were to, uh, you discussed about some tools, right? Is there any tool that you would recommend to the audience? I'm not asking you to like answer with a specific tool or anything that you have seen um, CISOs being really excited about, any type of tool, I'm not asking for the name, but something that you're seeing uh, rising in the industry.
Well, I don't want to call out any specific tools, but what I do want to impress on the audience is really dial back to the basics. You know, when we're talking about cloud security and advancement, what we need to do, what we need to look for, how we have to change, what we need to focus on, you got to pull it back really to the four pillars, the people, the process, the technology, and the governance. And this really carries across every aspect of security and also in the way that we operate as a company. We talked about the human error, we talked about the people. The process is the glue between the people and the technology. How do we empower our workforce? What do we need to do to keep them secure? How do we deal with it in the governance? How do we deal with this across our organization? What is the culture? What is the hygiene? How do we make sure that our rule sets are followed and that it's not just business as usual, but we're being proactive in a massive sense and not just reactive should something occur? It's not if, it's really when, and being prepared appropriately.
Yeah, thank you so much for answering that, Shira. That was really helpful. I think, yeah, that brings us to the end of the session. And thank you very much, everyone, for joining in. And you can connect with Shira on LinkedIn. We have shared her LinkedIn profile URL more than a few times already. And thank you so much, Shira, for answering all my questions about the state of cloud security. Anything that you want to share as a closing thought before we end this session?
No, thank you very much. I think, there's always one little cybersecurity tidbit that I'd like to share with everybody, and it's not very hard. It's a very simple humanistic thing. Before you do anything, stop and pause. When it comes to security, when it comes to being proactive, when it comes to being reactive, we're moving in such a fast-paced society today. Everybody's multitasking. We're utilizing many different machines. We're in maybe a hybrid, remote, on-premise workforce. Everybody's spread out. We're all trying to get our job done and work as a team, but we have lots of different issues that are coming at us, and certainly with advancement of technology. So if we just take that moment to stop and pause and think for a moment before we do any actions that can have repercussions that cannot be good for an organization, or that can be good, but take that moment to stop, pause, and think before acting quickly in some specific senses could save a lot of organizations big headaches.
Wow, that amazing. Thank you so much for sharing those closing thoughts. All right. Thank you very much, Shira. I will end the session now. You have a great rest of the day. I know it's now 11 a.m. for you, right? So you're just starting your day, and you still have rest of the day. So have a great day ahead. Thanks everyone who joined to listen to the insights by Shira. All right. Have a great night. And I know Christmas is on the around the corner, and New Year. So Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everyone. See you in the next year.
Thank you, everybody. Happy New Year.